to the beautiful National Trust property of Trurice. You might be asking yourself quite what you're doing here. What's happening with Time Team is all the time we're asking ourselves what are the core things that matter about Time Team. Being in the land of television, there's always someone who's watched X Factor and decided that what Time Team needs is a celebrity, whatever, or a makeover, or whatever. And what Jim and I and John and Phil and the rest of the team are doing all the time is saying, what is Time Team actually about? And you guys, in what we're going to be doing in the next 2 days, are going to be working on what we think of as the core business of Time Team. If you strip away everything, what is it that we do? And effectively what we do is evaluate sites. We were talking over breakfast and the landlady said, oh, I've always been interested in my house here, a house called De Gembris, just a short distance. How do I go about looking at what we find? What sort of things do I need to find? And what we're going to be doing over the next couple of days is working with you to evaluate a site. Now, this was a site sent to us by Carl. It arrived as an area.
Sorry, folks.
And it's his fault if you don't find anything, of course. And that material is sent to us all the time. Jim has the job of filtering out thousands of suggestions. And what we're going to be doing with you is asking you to join with us, various experts we've got here. John, as you know, geophysics guy from Time Team. Phil's going to be joining us, so you better be on your best behaviour about 1 o'clock. And we're going together to look at the evidence. Now, archaeology, to state the obvious, is not historical theory. It's about material evidence. So what I hope you will be doing is actually helping us to gather that real material evidence in. Yes, we hope we're going to be digging, if the weather allows it and everything goes well, at some point, a test pit or something like that. But we also want to give you an idea of all the things that we have to think about, and experts like Danny has to think about in terms of small finds, Carl has to think about in pottery. We're going to be looking at evidence from the fields, maps, and the sort of detail. Tim has been doing a bit of background research for us using the web. And you're going to be involved in this actively as much as we can. And at the end of the couple of days we're working together on, Jim and I have got to make another decision. The first question we have to ask ourselves is an archaeological one, if you like. And Carl and I have been discussing this, and I think, to paraphrase a long discussion, we want to know about this site. We want to know its possible date. These are the things you need if you're going to get a site scheduled. The date, the condition, the extent. But kind of it's summarised by the idea of what the hell is it? We have this wonderful aerial picture that Carl refers to as Mickey Mouse, and we'll be showing you a copy of that. And it's often, typically, the kind of thing Jim and I get. Somebody sends it from Google Earth, usually, or somewhere, and they say, what is going on here? And it's our job then to research it. Normally Jim would go and do that, but we're lucky because we've got you bunch of guys, and you're all going to be helping. We'll go through the evidence and see, can we date this site? And archaeologically speaking, Carl, you want to know what is the main thing from your point of view?
Basically, we want to know roughly what sort of date this is. We know nothing at all about this site. On our historic environment record at the moment, it has a date range from the Neolithic right through to the Second World War. It has that sort of potential. We know nothing at all. So it may even be all of those things. It is such a complex site from the aerial photograph. But our main thing is, because I doubt we'll actually be able to fully answer the question, what is it? But if we can give it a certain date range, and maybe even get an idea, if we do put in the test, as to the level of preservation, then that's a big step forward to perhaps taking forward investigations a bit further. But I think our main question that really desperately needs answering is its date, or at least gaining some information as to, because I suspect such a complex site is going to cover quite a large date range, is to try and get some material to try and answer that question.
Okay, now how do we answer that question? Effectively, we gather evidence together. And at the end of that evidence gathering processes, there may be excavation or test bits. But at the start of that process, there's a whole bunch of things that we're going to be looking at with you. We're going to divide you up into groups and hopefully give you the sensation of trying to find some of this stuff out. Some of these clever chaps at the back here have already been on the internet and getting a bit of ahead of us. But we're going to try and give you a chance to get into the subject and, like you would in your area, follow through things like place names, field boundaries, the shape of the landscape, what Mick has been doing all his life, landscape archaeology. So if you like, you're part of the team. We've got various people to help us. John is going to be talking to you a bit about geophysics. And when he's finished that, I've told him he's only got half an hour, by the way, because he's got to get out in the field and he's going to be doing a geophysics survey exactly like he would for Time Team. And as soon as he goes out there, I get on the comms and say, John, can I have it by 1 o'clock, please? And that always happens on time. A deep sigh from John. But actually, what we're aiming to do is get that to you here at about 3 o'clock. Because one of the things we have to ask ourselves is, we have to ask ourselves, if we get it here by 3 o'clock, what is the strategy? We get all this evidence together, and then the next question is, what exactly do we do? What size of trench do we do? Can we get the information in the time and record it? Because what you do here is going to be recorded for Carl and Cornwall County Council. So you're not doing some airy-fairy amateur exercise in the middle of nowhere that we're going to chuck in a bin once you've left. What you do is going to be written up as a report by Jim, Carl, myself, and we'll put it all together with John's geophysics and hand it over to Carl, so it's a bit of real evaluation. So we are planning to look at that stuff mid-afternoon. We will then have a strategy discussion with you and Uncle Phil, and we'll decide on the size of the trench we're going to put in.